What is going on, YouTube? We are back in Wonderlands and it's been a while. But the Blightcallers come out and I've made a build that I think is pretty decent. Now this build, it's not like overpowered. We're not going for like one shots, but it does have some pretty impressive bossing damage, and also the mobbing is phenomenal with this build. So we're gonna jump into the skills, get into the gear, and I'll see you guys there. Alright guys, jumping into the skills, we are using the STABBO and the Blightcaller, and we are not going that far into the STABBO tree. With my builds, I've pretty much used all STABBO because I don't feel like going through the story again and doing another character. So we are going to be using the status effect skills on the STABBO side, which are potent poisons, which grants us 20% damage to status effects and increases our duration by 40%. We also are going to go into exploit their weakness, which gives us a 10% damage increase per unique status effect. And then obviously contagion, even though it got nerfed, it's still pretty good. And then to go down the tree, we obviously want that spell, gun, and melee damage, and then we got some more damage dealt with swift death. Now let's get into what really makes this build tick. So we are going to be using the Plague Storm. Now you will see some clips in the beginning that the lightning strikes from this do massive damage. I don't know what allows it to do that, but I use Plague Storm. Usually if I have STABBO, we're using From the Shadows, but Plague Storm just does so much damage that I opted to use this. So our first skill is Virulence, which increases our status effect chance and our status effect duration. Now this is good paired with the skill, our capstone, which we'll talk about later, Spirit Swarm. But our next skill is Wrath Mail, which on kill we get 21% of our ward restored. Next, we're going down to Active Decay. We got 2 points into this just to get down our tree. And then Flawless Edge. So pretty much Flawless Edge, while our shields are full, we have increased damage dealt. So we want to keep our shields full, and that Wrath Mail will help us do that. Next, we have Amped Up, which grants us movement speed and ward restoration when we do lightning status effect. And the Blightcaller is all about status effects. So when we go down to our next skill, Burnt Offering, when we do a fire status effect, we get gun damage and spell damage, and that is 9% gun damage and spell cooldown rate of 12%, right? But that stacks 3 times, so we have 27% gun damage and then 36% spell cooldown rate. Next, we have Toxicity. So when we do poison status effects, we get critical hit damage, companion damage, and action skill cooldown rate. We are only looking for the critical hit damage and the action skill cooldown rate because we are not using a companion, and that stacks 3 times as well. So we're looking at around, what's that, around 21% increased critical hit damage, and then another 36% action skill cooldown rate. Next, we have Restore the Veil, which when we do dark magic damage, we will restore our ward instead of our health, so that helps us keep this damage dealt percentage up as much as possible. And then we have what I think is the most powerful skill on this tree, the Spirit Swarm. And you'll see in the clips in the beginning, the Spirit Swarm absolutely melts mobs. It can melt bosses, and it's all dependent on your status effect dot. So we want to get our status effect damage as high as possible, so whenever the Spirit Swarm procs, we will get a really high Spirit Swarm. So let's go into our skills, into our gear, and we'll see what gear will enhance our build. So I mainly use a white rider, not a live wire, and I've been trying to farm for a new one. It is hard to get a 2 times white rider, So I've been rocking this chaotic one since day one. So we're gonna be using the White Rider. I think it has the best damage proc for our skill Spirit Swarm. We're also going to be using the Message of Blast Off as well. Really good mobbing weapon. And I just have 2 free slots. It doesn't really matter what you put here. We could do liquid cooling. Blue cake is also good to get a high damage Spirit Swarm. So just mess around with the weapons and see what works good for you. These 2 work really well for me. For our melee weapon, we're doing the Goblin Pickaxe. It's just to get our movement speed up, and then we have Echo on this. Echo is really great because when we're doing damage, we can melee like a mob and it'll do a lot of damage. It might outright one-shot it. So get you a Goblin Pickaxe. For our rings, we have the new ring Daemon Blight, which increases our status effect damage. I got this on my first try doing the new DLC, and on this we have poison status effect duration and poison status effect chance, which is excellent because our poison status effect gives us critical hit damage and action skill cooldown rate. We also have fire status effect duration, and then when afflicted with a status effect, it gives us a 50% more effectiveness, so that's good. We're also going to be rocking a Shark's Bane. We got a Primordial one just for the gun damage. Desperate Body Rune is the best shield in the game, maybe second to Cursed Wit, or maybe reverse those. Maybe the Desperate Body Rune is the best one. So we got that with the enchantment. When health is below 50%, regenerate 5% maximum health per second and gain 30% damage dealt. I think that's the best shield enchantment out there, so if you can get that on your Desperate Body Rune or any shield you really like to rock, get it. Now, for our class mods, the best one I have found is the Smart Armor, but I haven't been able to get a Stabbomancer or Blightcaller for the Miasmic Male, so this is what I've been rocking. Some other class mods that we can rock are the Calamity of Nong and also the Corrupted Plate Mail. Those 2 are the ones you might want to look after if you are trying to build this build. So with the Smart Armor, we get total critical hit chances reduced by 50%, but then our critical hit damage is increased by 50%, so that's good. So next we have our necklace. So we got poison damage and Stabbomancer power. If I can find one with Blightcaller power, I will. But this one has status effect damage, it's 40%, and then we get gun magazine size. So that's why I'm using this. And also for the poison damage, because we're mainly using poison damaging weapons. So that's why we're using our Blood Bag of the Obsession. And then we have the Buffmeister. I played around with a couple spells. I just interchange these Buffmeisters depending on what enemies I'm fighting. Typically I use the Dark Magic one because with our skill Restore the Veil, we get ward regeneration, or our ward gets restored with dark magic damage, so that's why I mainly use the dark magic variant. And so let's go over our myth rank. We got a really high myth rank, but if you play this game a lot, you probably do too. And then let's jump into our hero stats. So for our hero stats, I went crit chance instead of crit damage because we're rocking the Smart Armor. Now if we're not rocking the Smart Armor, I would switch those 2 around. I would max out strength, and then I would dump the rest of my points into status damage, and then whatever we have remaining put into dexterity, because we want as much status damage as possible, because the Blightcaller is all about those status effects. Now that is all I have for you guys today. If you want another build with the Blightcaller, let me know. I can try to put one together. I've been trying to work on a melee variant one. It hasn't been coming along too great, but I think I just need to find a good weapon, a good melee weapon to use, and a good class model, and I think it could shine. But that is all I have for you guys today. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.